Warning, despite the subject matter at the focus of these videos, my reviews are not intended for viewers under the age of 13, so if you're not of age, turn off the video now. Are they gone? Great, let's get to the intro already. Previously on Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Devon was unmorphed and kidnapped in front of his dad along with a Morphex tower. Meanwhile, real Roxy is awake, never mind how, and she tells the Rangers about Evox's plan to download his consciousness into a new body. Now it's a race against time as the team must rescue their leader and stop Evox at all costs. Anybody else got chills from this? Granted, it's not as epic as the previously on segment from Super Mega Force, but it does an admirable job at letting you know the important bits. Except for Ravi gunning down evil Roxy to save his girlfriend. That part is curiously left out. However, I'm not that invested in the quality of this episode as I normally would be. Don't get me wrong, I still expect this episode to end things on a high note, but over the course of the past few seasons, I've realized something. Closing out a Power Rangers season is much easier than pivoting into a season 2, especially when you're using the same Sentai footage for each. I won't speculate on this for long since it's not the review for it, but I am slightly more intrigued with what comes after this, as reopening the toy box has been more difficult for the current series. At any rate, I am interested to see how this season will end, even though I'll still be talking about it after this, thanks to the holiday specials. But all that's in the future. For now, let's see if this season can end as strongly as it started, as we dive into the Power Rangers Beast Morphers finale, aka Episode 20, Evox Upgraded. The episode opens with the Rangers and GB scientists hard at work trying to rebuild Scruzzle's cybergates. In this scene, we also see the Rangers with their helmets off, which is a bit strange for Steel, but cool nonetheless. Mayor Daniels comes in, pissed at Commander Shaw for not telling him Devon was a Ranger, but he mellows out when Shaw introduces him to her son Ravi in his blue uniform. Shaw goes on to tell the mayor Devon was taken to the Cyberverse, and that the Cybergate is the only way they know to get there. Once her explanation is done, Nate tests out the Cybergate, but the connection to the dimension is unstable and turns Betty stretchy for a bit. Ravi then suggests running in with a beacon that he'll put near Evox's base, making it easier for the others to follow with Nate's transporter technology. But Shaw tells him they can't lose another Ranger, so...
He's right.
Mayor Daniels, don't!
Stop!
Holy shit, didn't see that coming. The Cybergate shuts down right after the mayor leaves, but Nate does receive a signal from the beacon, so the Rangers try to figure out their next move. Luckily, Nate's been working on a new Ultra Zord that will need to be strong enough to stop Evox. In the Cyberverse, Blaze asks how much longer before Evox's new body is ready, but Scruzzle says it's a complex process and that they should make sure the teleportation system is ready. Meanwhile, one of the Tronic guarding Devon is knocked out by Mayor Daniels, who I'm disappointed didn't keep the shovel. The mayor rescues his son as a few other Tronics chase after them, before we cut back to GB, where the Rangers are forming the Ultra Zord. Once the combination sequence is complete, Commander Shaw orders Ravi to bring the team back in one piece, before our heroes are transported to the Cyberverse. However, Scruzzle is alerted to the Rangers' presence, so Blaze orders him to send out an army of Gigadrones to tear the team apart. Said army is deployed, but the Ultra Zord is strong enough to walk through them without issue. While that's going on, Devon and his dad hide from the Tronics, and as they catch their breath, the mayor comments about Devon being the Red Ranger. Surprisingly, the two have a real conversation about this, with Devon admitting that he didn't say anything to his dad, mostly because it's been a long time since they were on the same page about anything. Mayor Daniels apologizes to Devon for giving him a hard time, before he goes on to admit that he was wrong, and that his son is a hero, with Devon adding that he's just following in his father's footsteps. The two hug before making a plan to return to the place Mayor Daniels entered the dimension from, but as they head in that direction, Evox finishes downloading into his new body and transports to the the Ultrazord's location. After revealing himself to the heroes, Evox uses one shot to destroy the Ultrazord, though the Rangers somehow survive. Devin meets up with the team, and everyone's happy that things are okay, until Evox reappears. Cruz hands Devin a wrist comm so he can morph into action, but that doesn't help much since Evox blasts the Rangers, causing them to demorph. Rather than kill the Rangers, Evox grows giant and heads to the Gigadrone teleporter, intent on leaving the Cyberverse, so the Rangers make a plan to stop him. Zoe remembers that Morphex is highly explosive, and since the Racerzord is still operational, Devin heads out to blow the tower and take Evox with it. As he does so, the rest of the team heads back to Skrull's base so they can stop Evox from leaving the dimension long enough for Devin to destroy the tower. When Devin gets to the tower, he runs into a Gigadrone piloted by Blaze, who somehow knew where the Red Ranger was, despite no scene setting up that fact. The other Rangers hold off Tronics so Nate can get into Skrull's base, and we get the best one-liner I've heard on this show.
You cheap circuits want a taste of steel?
And now I'm pissed that Steel hasn't been using that catchphrase this whole time. Did we really have to wait until the end of the season for that platinum gold? Nate shoots Skrull and forces the general to retreat before trying to reverse Evox's teleportation. Back with Devin, he takes down Blaze so quickly you'd forget these guys had a history before this meeting, and the Avatar is ultimately destroyed. Devin's battle still damages the Morphex tower enough for it to become unstable, so Nate tells him to get out of there after making sure Evox is staying in the Cyberverse. Devin races out of the tower just as it explodes, with the flames engulfing Evox. Meanwhile, everyone else makes it back to Grid Battle Force through the Cybergate, and Mayor Daniels waits at the portal for his son, but gets an explosion to the face. After making sure the mayor's okay, the team waits with bated breath before Devin and Cruz limp out of the Cybergate portal. Nate thanks Ben and Betty for fixing the Cybergate and saving everyone, before realizing Betty is still suffering from the Cybergate's effects. Mayor Daniels then hugs Devin, saying that in a way he's always been proud of his son since he's always admired the Red Ranger. We then get to see Basic Blaze awake from his coma, though not much fanfare is given about that, before we cut to a week later where Mayor Daniels awards each member of the Ranger team with the Medal of Valor. Ben and Betty are also awarded medals, but when Ben tries to pin the medal on his sister, he accidentally pops the bubble suit she was wearing to help with the Cybergate effects. After Ben catches Betty, Mayor Daniels sees something happening to his hand, and the episode ends with no one else noticing because Steel takes a group selfie with everyone. This episode is pretty good. I'll admit that judging this episode as its own entity is a fool's errand because the first half builds on the momentum of the cliffhanger from last time, while the second half wraps up the entire season. In hindsight, it was a mistake for me to review this episode by itself because the plot requires for your investment to be tied into the previous episode. On its own, this episode is just a rescue mission and nothing more, but the places where it excels is rightfully with character arcs. I was really surprised with how much I was invested during the medal ceremony, since it brought a smile to my face to see Ben and Betty be recognized as heroes in their own wacky way. However, Devin and his dad are the primary character focus this time around, and I love the resolution of Devin's arc. His father finally sees him as the hero he is, and even apologizes for how he treated his son. This scene also made me curious about their family structure, since it sounds like your typical workaholic dad, dead mother scenario, which would explain the not seeing eye to eye comment that Devin mentions. I'd love it if season 2 delved more into this, but given Power Rangers' track record for single parent families, this is not likely to come up again. However, what I hope does happen in season 2 is that Mayor Daniels becomes the evil avatar for Evox, which I'd love for a million reasons, not the least of which being that it would further parallel Devin with Ravi. Yes, I do still care about that, even if the show doesn't. Sadly, those are the only character arcs that end in this episode, which is a real shame given how many plot threads were started at the beginning of the show. I'm particularly disappointed with how Blaze and Roxy are handled, since Blaze's final battle with Devin is lackluster at best, and there's no closure with the human counterparts. Hell, Roxy doesn't even get dialogue in this episode. I know that we still have a second season, so these storylines will likely continue until that finale, but I would have liked to see some interaction between Basic Blaze and Devin, or even Zoe relinquishing her morpher to Roxy. Overall, this episode is good, but not great. The elements it takes time to round out are excellent, while others are left on the wayside for the sake of editing. The action sequences are also fun, and I'm a sucker for an overpowered villain that the Rangers must overcome. I'm also crossing fingers in the hopes that a lot of my criticisms will be made moot by the beginning of season 2. But for now, I must close here and get into the Halloween mood for next time. I'm Nick, aka IronBet1993, and may the power protect you.